Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for those that have joined us here in council chambers, as well as those that are viewing from home. Call the meeting to order of the Poquoson City Council. This is Tuesday, May 27th, and this is our regular session. If we could all rise, I have an invocation to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and the many blessings we have received as a city. This week, we offer a special prayer for the 19 Poquoson men who lost their lives to protect the freedoms that we enjoy. As we celebrate Memorial Day this week, help us to remember that it is them that we need to celebrate. Be with our active duty military personnel and our public safety employees as they protect each and every one of us. And tonight, Lord, we have families dealing with unexpected losses. Hold them close, Heavenly Father, in the coming weeks. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight we'll start things off with a special presentation from Davenport and Company, and I'll invite back, and my pleasure to do so, to Mr. Kyle Law and Mr. David Rose from Davenport and Associates. I'm sure that the council is intrigued by what we read in the manager's report, and we're looking forward to hearing the details of this.
Thank you.
Got some extras, Judy, maybe you want one.
Okay, David.
Yes, sir. Again, Mr. Mayor, members of council, appreciate the opportunity to be here. Actually, we're delighted to be here. As you mentioned, my partner Kyle and I couldn't be more excited to stand in front of you. We're not asking to borrow any new money. We're not asking to do anything but really to explain something that I don't think takes a lot of explanation, so we won't be very long. I'll start the presentation, walk you through some of this, and if there's any tough questions, I've got Kyle here to answer because, as you know, he does all the heavy lifting, including myself, so I appreciate that. But on a very serious note, what we'd like to do is just walk you through the 4 or 5 or 6 pages we put in front of you, and then really try to answer any questions that you have. As you may all be aware, from the information the city manager presented the other day, thanks to your leadership, working collectively, collaboratively, with an excellent staff, Teresa and Randy we work closest with, but we know there are a number of other people that work to help make this happen. The city of Poquoson is now AAA by Standard & Poor's, which is one of the 2 premier rating agencies in the United States. That occurred as a journey. I will say on the one sobering point, now that you're at that AAA, great things are expected of you to continue in that vein, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. But just to give you a perspective here, that 3rd bullet point, you are actually only the 3rd city in the Hampton Roads area to be deemed a AAA. You join the city of Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, and you'll notice that they are much larger, both land mass-wise as well as population-wise. And in fact, as we look through here, the next point, this is actually, from a population perspective, the smallest AAA in the state with regard to cities or counties. So very often rating agencies take an extra hard look at local governments that don't have a very large population to spread some of the risk over. So I think that's even more telling that they believe that in your modest population, you still are deemed from them to be a AAA local government. The second rating agency, Moody's, we have not yet had them come calling and ask about the overall city and how they're doing since that rating that we had back in March of 2012. We eventually see them doing that. That typically will happen. Right now it's every couple or 3 years. We actually see that happening every year. We actually see the rating agencies getting even tighter in their reviews. We call it surveillance. And again, we think that'll happen inevitably. You enjoy a very solid rating by them in the AA category. And if you go to the next couple of pages, on page 2, you can actually see where you fall between both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. Again, these are not rating agencies that we happen to select. They are the two premier rating agencies in the country, and they've been at it for decades. You'll notice there that when we first went to New York with the mayor, with the city manager, with the finance director, we were located in that third tier. We were in that yellow, and by virtue of visiting with them, talking about your plans back in 2012, and I'll get to that, you actually were upgraded by both those agencies. Now again, here we are, some 26 months later, with S&P doing their further review, and all the things that you told them that you were going to do, you did, and then some, you find yourself being AAA. So again, that's an important point that we need to make. Go to page 3. I mentioned this a moment ago. We just wanted to give you the context of all of this. We were in New York, as you may recall, because we had identified collectively doing some refinancing, some restructuring of your outstanding debt, or a portion of it, for both savings purposes and for freeing up cash flow to put those funds, such as the sewer fund, in a stronger position. The general fund, we talked to them about and said that over the next year or two, we were going to make sure that all of our funds would be structurally balanced. And again, when they saw what the manager and what the council had done this particular go-round for the 2015 budget that starts, of course, in just a few weeks, they decided that the leadership, the follow-through, the history was such that you indeed deserve to be AAA. And again, we just can't say enough about how important that is and how quick that has all happened. Meaning quick insofar as really over the last 4 to 5 years doing all these things. There are local governments of which you're surrounded by, so to speak, that have worked for decades to get to AAA and are still not there. So again, you did what you needed to do. Now the key, of course, is to continue to do that. A couple points we just wanted to make here on page 3. You'll see in the middle there, the credit presentation that we did, which was literally, as the mayor will recall, you may all recall seeing that, was probably 50 or 60 pages. And that's not the offering circular that we used. This is actually just the information that was all put together, thanks to the folks behind me, that we showed them that, again, we had a plan. We also said to them that plan in 2012 was not complete, but it has become complete by virtue of the 2014 and 2015 budgets. We also told them about the financial policy guidelines that were put in place over the last several years and how you kept to those policies, if not exceeded them in a positive way. And then finally, one of those policies, and perhaps the most important policy, was the maintenance of what we'll call your unassigned fund balance. That's your rainy day fund. That's the fund that's there, of course, if problems occur. That's the fund that gives comfort to investors that if, again, there's a hiccup, you've got dollars there. Not only did you meet that and continue to meet that, you've exceeded that, and they've noted that, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then finally, you know, of course, what you did, the courageous thing of going into the 2015 budget and having that 10-cent increase, of which basically 7 cents went to make sure the general fund was structurally balanced. The other 3 cents or so continuing to help the schools by virtue of the lack of help that you've been getting from the state with regard to cutbacks for you and others. So again, you did all of those things, and you did them dramatically. And so what you'll find on pages 4 and 5 are their commentary, not ours, but their commentary and their quotes. And if I could, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor, maybe I can just quote it and just
Absolutely.
for those that don't have it. there are 4 major categories of rating criteria. One of which, and maybe the most important, being management. And they talk about management, they don't mean just the city manager, they mean the council, they mean the management and its staff and the elected officials, the constitutional officers, how you all work together. And you do that so well. So this is their quote: "We view Pocoson's management conditions as very strong, with strong financial practices, indicating practices are strong, well embedded, and likely sustainable. We consider budgeting conservative. Management provides the City Council with monthly budget and investment holding reports. Management maintains long-term financial and capital plans that updates annually as part of the budget process." Again, maybe their English is not perfect in terms of the way they did it, but that's actually right out of their report what they said on management. Then on debt, something that we all have been careful about, it says Pocoson's debt and contingent liability profile is strong. You'll get a theme here. Strong is a very complimentary word that they use, not our words, but theirs. Total government fund debt service represents 7.3% of total government fund expenditures, and net direct debt represents 120% of total government fund revenue. Overall, net debt represents just 2% of market value. Officials plan to retire 64% of the debt in 10 years. Again, all of those are very, very solid. Then the next page on finances. In our opinion, the city's budgetary flexibility remains very strong, with available reserves remaining above 21% of adjusted operating expenditures for the past 3 years. The fiscal 2015 budget indicates fund balances will be about $4 million, or 15.3% of expenditures, after using $836,000 of reserves for one-time capital expenditures, which exceeds the city's 12 to 15% policy minimum. And of course, as you well know, since that report came out and the estimates, those reserves are actually less than what we talked to them about. So you're in an even stronger position just a few weeks later than what they had when all of us talked to the rating agencies. So that number has even gotten better. And then finally, on demographics and economy, that's something that's really a lot slower for you to change. Some of those things are being blessed to being in the right place. And he says, "We consider Pocoson's economy to be very strong, with projected per capita effective buying income equaling 133% of the national average." And then they talk about the Hampton Roads region provides stability to the local economy and aids the region in maintaining relatively low unemployment compared with national levels. Pocoson has direct access to leading employment sites, including NASA Langley Research, Langley Air Force Base, and Newport News Shipbuilding. And then finally, on page 6, and I'll be done here, the significance may be asked of being a AAA city. So what does it matter if you're a citizen? What does it matter if you're on council and you become AAA? Well, I think the first point is that is effectively a proxy for the message that Pocoson is a well-run government. You cannot become AAA if in their minds, when they do the scrutiny, they do the analysis, you're not well-run. So I think that's the first point it says, and that's a very nice thing to have independent outsiders, besides folks like ourselves, to tell you that we think you are well-run. The second, we think, is that it really does create an environment, an insurance, if you would, for economic development, for those partners that are currently your partners here in the city, and for those folks that might think about coming to the city or expanding in the city. It sends a message that Pocoson is in a safe and strategic investment, and again, that we think is critical. Then let's talk about just sheer dollars, and that's the last few points. When you're at AAA, what that means is that the average local government in America is basically an A-rated government, in the A range, 2 whole notches lower. And that's frankly where you were back just a few years ago when we went up to New York, viewed as a solid government A range. So by virtue of going to that AAA, in this environment, it's safe to say that you probably will borrow in future for things that you might have at $100,000 less than you might otherwise have for something like a school or something like utilities. When you're looking at doing substantial borrowings, you're probably cutting out anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000 per year of interest simply because you have that AAA rating. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think I'll ask Kyle to maybe come up and answer any of your questions or comments because, again, he was so critically involved in all of this. But hopefully I haven't confused everyone, but they say when you're explaining, you're losing. We don't have a lot of explaining to do. So we thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Kyle. We don't have any questions. It's just.
I'm happy to not answer any questions or answer questions, whatever you want.
It's a tremendous accomplishment for us, and I will tell you that we didn't do this by ourselves. We did that with the partnership that we had with Davenport and Company, and we appreciate the leadership, the guidance, financial, and we've been doing this together now. Geez, it seems like 10 years that we've been working.
Probably
with
has
Davenport. And, you've helped us accomplish many great things, and this seems like the icing on the cake that we did it the right way. So we thank you for your guidance. We thank staff and the finance office for watching the checkbook and the dollars so closely and doing the things. And we thank the city manager for giving us the options and the decision, basically calling out the decisions and what the decisions meant. Because there's many decisions that could have been made, but then to the council for following through on the commitments that we talked about. So I just think it's a win-win story all the way through from staff to wherever.
We agree, and I think it's, as you just said, it's a team effort, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to work with you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for driving down this evening to give us this great news. Thank you so much.
Yes. I just want to say how proud I am of everybody involved in the whole process. I honestly never thought that AAA was within our reach, only because of our size. And in conversations with Davenport and others, this was something that was going to take a decade or more to achieve. And to achieve it in 26 months, in the midst of the worst recession since the Great Depression, I think speaks volumes about this community and our employees and the people that work in our schools and just everyone. And I don't think you can trumpet this accomplishment enough. It couldn't have happened at a more difficult time. And the fact that we did it in record speed is really just a pat on the back for outstanding team play, and that team is very, very large.
Thank you. Well said. Councilor, anybody like to comment?
I would.
Go right ahead.
I'd like to say that didn't happen without mighty good leadership, and that would be the manager and you, Mr. Mayor, and our finance folks. And I think they just did a super job of doing that.
Well, I'm only one vote.
Well, I think
appreciate
we've gotten some tremendous advice from Davenport, and I, for one, like to thank you for sticking with us.
And I wish the federal government would take a page or two out of it.
There you go.
And the state government, for that matter.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all, and appreciate you joining us here this evening. With that said, I guess next is audience for visitors, and now is the time. If you'd like to address council on any subject, the time is yours. That looks like the group that wants to talk right there.
That's your daughter, right?
Come right on.
Hello.
Good to see you all this evening.
I'm Rhonda, Karen, and this is our lovely volunteer, Tracy.
I'm moral support
Okay.
tonight.
We're very proud to announce that we are officially a nonprofit. Yay.
Excellent.
It was like getting your Christmas present.
Can I get you to tell them what your organization?
I'm so sorry. Pause. We're famous now. We thought everybody
knew. Well, and you know, all of us know, but the people at home do know.
Poquoson Animal Welfare Sanctuary. And it was like opening a Christmas present when we went to get the mail that day. It's been a long struggle. And Karen has some statistics she would like to share with you since we've been together.
Gosh, I don't remember the last time we were together, but...
Karen, if I can get you to, because I do want the people at home to hear you. If you can make sure you're right there in front of that microphone. Appreciate it.
Okay. We keep records on every cat or kitten that we come across, and it's been a lot of cats and kittens. As a matter of fact, the total amount of cats and kittens that we have fixed, that means spayed or neutered, and given shots and tested for AIDS and leukemia is 207, which we think is a lot since pretty much it's a small group does it, which has been a really rewarding feeling to know that these cats and kittens will not be reproducing. Every kitten that we adopt out is always spayed and neutered as well, so we know that 90% of the cats and the kittens are ferals. So, you know, we're making a good dent in the feral population. We have about 6 colonies of cats in the city that are cats that are being monitored. They're fed. They've been given shots. They are fixed, and they're cared for every day. These are cats that could not be adopted out. They're not friendly cats. Well, some of them are a little friendly. But
to their caregiver.
To the caregiver, they're friendly. But they are not the kind of cat that would be most likely adoptable. I wanted to bring a show and tell because I have show and tell. We all have show and tell kittens at our houses because we've also started a foster program, which we could not be doing what we're doing without our fosters and our volunteers. Because the volume of kittens that we're getting in right now is, we have about 40, which is a lot for us because we have to treat them. We have to feed them sometimes through the night. We have to take them to the vet. We have to weigh them sometimes every day. It's just a lot of things involved.
But those are 40 kittens that came from feral mothers who are now fixed, and that is 40 less kittens that will be occupying the marshes, your backyards, your Farm Fresh parking lot, McDonald's parking lot. And that's just what we have right now. Kitten season runs from January through October, and you will occasionally have a pregnant mom in November and December too. One area of Poquoson Avenue, we have spayed and neutered almost 30 cats in just behind one house. But that's what we want to do, is to keep tabs on the hot spots in the city, work on one area at a time, because again, we can't spread ourselves too thin. We can do one area at a time. And eventually those cats are going to die out through attrition, and you're not going to have them reproducing over and over and producing sick cats, very, very sick cats. Our medical bills are tremendous.
We work with 3 local vets, and we keep them busy all the time. We took 6
today.
6 today when we said we were coming with 2, but between the time we made the appointment and the time we got there, we had to add it on extra 4, and they weren't from the same place. So they're coming from everywhere. Tracy has about 9 kittens at her house.
She's still smiling.
She is. She is.
I have 8 at my house.
She has
right
8
now.
at her
8
house.
Sick ones.
Right.
When we spoke last, we made an agreement about the fence. Our lovely neighbor has since sold the house. We didn't drop his property taxes too much. We can't do a PowerPoint presentation, but just to give you an idea what we did with the fence. It's a 6-foot tall fence. The cats won't be going out.
Excellent.
Our other member, Jim, has been working diligently. He still has some areas left to do, but he works about an hour a day on it. And we think that'll do the trick. Which leads us to why we're here. Since we have our tax exempt status, we will hope you will consider giving us a tax exemption from the personal property taxes on the 4 parcels we occupy with the sanctuary, which amounts to approximately $1,400 a year. With $1,400 additional a year, we can spay and neuter approximately 28 to 30 more animals. And if you consider giving us an exemption, we're hoping you will consider giving us an exemption back to the middle of last year, and maybe possibly reimbursing our money back for half of last year. The property was deeded to us in June.
Okay.
And that's
So it's backdated to March.
They'll each get 10.
our 501c3 is actually retroactive back to March of 2013. Now, we have been occupying the property since 2012. However, Mr. Holloway did not sign the actual deed until June. It did not go before the court until August. But we did pay for the whole 6 months of last year, the end of last year.
Okay. I think we understand your request. We're not prepared to give you any feedback on it, but we appreciate the fact that you got the request. Let me say that, one, I'm thrilled because I know we've met. I'm thrilled by the fact that you followed through on the 501(c)(3), that you got that accomplished. That's a big step, and I know it was a lot of work. I appreciate that. I will also tell you that we've enjoyed y'all's activity in the community, not only from the fund that you've actually generated with some of your fundraising antics, but some fun events, but mostly for the service that you've provided to us, because I can tell you this council has heard from, before you stood up as an organization, we had complaints from many different sectors, which I'm proud to say that we don't have anymore.
That's wonderful.
So we do appreciate that. We do think that you've made a difference, and we see you following through on your commitments, and we'll take a look at this particular issue for you.
One thing I forgot to mention, we are also meeting with Newport News Animal Control, and we are going to start meeting regularly with the head of the Newport News division in working with us together about cat situations. We can't take over animal control for Poquoson, but it's a lot better to work with somebody than against somebody.
That's correct.
And that I think you'll see an even bigger difference after that.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience have something that they would like to address council on? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the audience for visitors and ask council for the consideration of approval of the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May the 12th, 2014.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve those minutes. Questions or comments? If not, then Judy, please.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Bernal?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ayer?
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. We have next on the agenda here is a series of public hearings, and Randy, I'm going to read all 3 of them, then I'll open them individually, and anything that we can combine presentations on would be greatly appreciated by council. Okay, the public hearings are, the first one would be an ordinance amending Article 1, general provisions, sections 1 through 3, definitions of the zoning ordinance, and Article 2, definitions of the subdivision ordinance, by adding and amending definitions as applicable pertaining to lots, yards, and streets. This is a first reading. The second one is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance by revising Article 8, TAC 4. This is in planned unit development in the mixed-use overlay district and this would be on perimeter buffers and open space. This is also a first reading. And then I will tell you there's one that's postponed this evening, and that is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance pertaining to the setback requirements in the village commercial, general commercial, and R&D districts. Again, that one is postponed. There will be no action and no presentation on that one. But Randy, how would you all like to proceed on it?
Mr. Mayor, what I would suggest is we bring Kevin forward, and Karen too, if she wants to speak to it, and just go ahead and summarize both the numbered public hearing items 1 and 2. Because 3 is postponed for a month, there's really no need for presentation. For those that may be watching at home, the reason that it was postponed was there was some additional correspondence and input that the Planning Commission literally received the day of their hearing, and they wanted to take that properly into consideration, so they postponed their deliberation 1 month. So, Kevin, come forward, please.
Well, I can speak to the public hearing item number 2 briefly. Karen is much more familiar with the definition changes. However, as you recall back...
Well, if you're going to go to number 2 first,
okay, then
you're going to get us totally confused because we have All right, so if you can start with 1, then go to 2,
well, then Karen,
I would appreciate
please.
Okay. Oh, good. Okay. This is a pretty quick one, and I know y'all are familiar with it. We discussed this during a work session on March the 17th. We had our zoning ordinance definition of corner lot challenged and started looking at it and decided that it probably could be tightened up a little bit to provide clarification. So once we got started on it, it looked like we needed to also maybe revise the definition for front, side, and rear yards so that everything is kind of in sync. And I'll just kind of read through them. But after our meeting, I also noticed that the subdivision ordinance has a corner lot definition that didn't match the one that was in the zoning ordinance. So we're going to sync that up too. Okay. And I think that's going to be in 2 separate resolutions. The corner lot will be defined as a lot or parcel of land abutting on 2 or more streets or on 2 parts of the same street. And I think you have diagrams there to kind of show what I'm talking about. Property line is referred to in our other definition, so we did want to add a definition for that. That'll be a total new addition. And that is a line of record bounding a lot that divides one lot from another lot or from a public or private street or any other public space. And then front yard would be amended to read a yard extending across the full width of the lot and lying between the street line or lines adjacent to the lot and the nearest line of the principal building. Rear yard would be amended to read a yard extending across the full width of the lot and lying between the rear property line of the lot and the nearest line of the principal building, except that a corner lot shall have no rear yard. So we just added that language about the corner lot in. And then side yard. A yard between a property line and the nearest line of the principal building and extended from the front yard to the rear yard, except that on a corner lot, all yards not adjacent to a street shall be side yards. And so I think these definition changes kind of pull it all together and make it more clear to the public.
So your language basically brings us to what you presented to us here.
Yes.
Okay. We like pictures.
Good. It does help.
All right. Anything else? Questions of council?
Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Crawford asked me to convey her thoughts on a couple of agenda items this evening. Regrettably, she was unable to make the meeting, had a family medical emergency which pulled her away. Her thought here really relates to both ordinances in front of you, specifically the corner lot definition. And her question, she asked me to sort of forward on for consideration, is whether or not the language, particularly if you look at that corner lot section, which is the first one in 1.3 of the first ordinance, when you get to the end of it, or on 2 parts of the same street, I think when you have a diagram it's pretty clear to understand what that means, but without a definition of part, she just questioned whether or not some additional language or specificity might further help people to understand what this is. And I think her concern was that we started this process having gotten a challenge to our definition, and were we being specific enough so we didn't create a new challenge. I spoke with Karen this afternoon, and she went through it at length with the diagrams, and I certainly get it. But should the council wish to amend that to propose some additional clarification, I would either respectfully ask that you put forward language yourself, or allow us to take it back and work on it as a staff, rather than as a staff try to craft something up here.
I agree. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I was just going to say, why don't we include the diagrams in the ordinance, and that clears it all up.
Is that allowed? I mean, to me,
Making an attachment. Well, not in the ordinance though, because the ordinance goes in the code. And this would not go in your city code. But in the book I keep in my office, it could be an attachment.
Alternatively, Mr. Mayor, since this is first read,
sure.
If the council's intent is to incorporate additional clarifying language, we could work on that between now and then and bring that back at second read.
Is it a technical issue, or why can't you put a diagram in the code, I guess is my question. Is that technical, or is there a rule against it, or what?
Well, it goes to municipal code, and they're the ones that codify our code, and I've never seen a diagram in the code.
but an attachment, or back in the references section or something. I don't know. Let me challenge staff. Let me challenge staff to see what you can come up with between this reading and the next. I'm certainly okay with it as it reads, given the definition, but if there's a way to strengthen it, I'm fine with that also. So we'll just say that and leave that to any comments of the public at the public hearing. All right, thanks. Now, item number 2.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. As you may recall, back in March of this year, we approached you all in a work session to discuss potential amendments to the recently adopted planned unit development mixed-use overlay district, primarily as it pertains to the required 40-foot perimeter buffer. Specifically, when development is immediately adjacent to existing commercial development. For instance, any development that is within the Big Woods mixed-use overlay district that is adjacent to development that is on With Creek Road. After looking at this language a little closer and discussing it with the Planning Commission, we came up with a proposal that would allow for a reduction up to 20 feet of this required buffer. 20 feet being appropriate only adjacent to existing commercial development. So that is what we bring before you this evening, a little leeway that was not in that code previously.
And that's basically the objective here, and I'll just be the first one with a question. Mm-hmm. The objective here is to level up the buildings as they approach. Instead of having one set further back behind the other, to bring it up so that they're even?
No, the objective here was to offer a little leeway that wasn't previously in the code.
Okay.
To allow, we wanted to protect the existing adjacent residential uses. Yeah. However, we thought 40-foot may have been a little too extreme for existing commercial development.
I got you.
Kevin, if I could clarify.
Yes.
What's before the council this evening allows the council flexibility as part of its specific application, the PUD, to a property or properties, to waive that, to modify it down to 20 if you think that it's the right thing for that particular project. Yes. So it doesn't become a by right 20, but it gives the council the flexibility if the developer can show that it doesn't negatively impact the adjoinings.
Yes.
To go to 20.
Okay.
No, my apologies. Yes, it is All plans, all master plans will go before council for approval, and this gives you the leeway in these circumstances to look at that previously wasn't there.
Okay, and that's why you said more flexibility. I got you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Questions of Kevin? Kevin by council. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this is 2 public hearings. The first one will be...
Together, if you'd like.
Okay. I'd like to hold them both together because I don't think there's anybody here to speak. But I'll open both public hearings, and this is public hearing on the ordinance amending Article 1, General Provisions, Section 1.3, as applicable pertaining to lots, yards, and streets. And the second one is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance by revising Article 8 on the PUDs on perimeter buffers and open space. I'll open that public hearing now if there's someone that would like to speak. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and it is the first reading, so we do not have to do anything, right?
Correct. Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, without objection, Mrs. Crawford also asked me to forward to you her comments with regard to this. And as this relates to the potential modification of the buffer, her note of caution was, in her opinion anyway, to be mindful both in the potential application of this change and its application as part of the PUD, that we'd be mindful as a city to not employ flexibility on a new development that was not there on the one it immediately adjoins. So I went down and I did speak to staff today, and what they told me was that the vast majority, if not all, of the non-residential parcels that this would apply to are B2. Go like this one if I get any detail wrong, Kevin. And the B2 district does not have a buffer requirement. Okay. So in that instance, I think you would be all right, but I think her point is that each application is different, and since we're not doing it as a by right, we're giving you the option. It will give you the option, even if we don't contemplate an example of it today, to take it on a case-by-case basis and make whatever decision you think is appropriate for each project.
Okay. Thank you very much. Council, I'm inclined to just move forward and not take a vote on this until next meeting. Any concerns?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, personally, I would like to see us find a way to put the diagrams in there rather than try to come up with some language that's going to get us in trouble.
I think staff understands our desire, and if there's a way to do it, I'm sure they will find it. Okay, so I appreciate it.
We have an excellent clerk.
I know
if it can be found, she'll find it.
I know we do. Okay. That completes the public hearing section of the agenda. We'll move on to unfinished business, and this is a resolution making appointments to the school board. Is somebody prepared with a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution making appointments to the school board with the following names inserted: David A. Hucks, Western Precinct; Gary W. Carter, Jr. from the Central Precinct, and their terms will expire June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we adopt those nominations and put those two folks, two well-deserved gentlemen, back on the school board. All right, questions or comments? Judy, please.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. Under new business, we have a resolution certifying the employer contribution rate for the city of Poquoson and a resolution concurring with the school division election to pay VRS board certified rate.
Mr. Mayor, both of these items are required by state code, and they reflect the decisions taken by you and the school board in the most recent budget adoption.
Okay. In one motion, we'll do both of these resolutions, or do we need to do these separate? Two. I'm getting two from that esteemed city clerk that you were talking about just a few minutes ago.
If she says two, I believe it.
Hey. All right, buddy, you got to work twice as hard. Go with it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution certifying the employer contribution rates for counties, cities, town, school divisions, and other political subdivisions in accordance with the 2014 Appropriation Act, Item 467I.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we adopt that resolution. Questions or comments of council? Not, Judy, please.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, and the next resolution?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution stating local governing body concurrence with school division electing to pay the VRS board certified rate in accordance with the 2014 Appropriation Act, Item 467I.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we approve that resolution also. Questions or comments by council? Not, Judy, please.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, the next item under new business is a resolution authorizing contracts for street and landscaping materials. I knew there was a reason the esteemed Public Works Director, Mr. Jones, was here, so would you like him to have him present this
Would
subject?
you like to present this, Tom? Tom is here in case I get into the ceiling. Just like I told Kevin, if I get anything major wrong, make a sign. What you have here is 7 suggested recommended commodities contracts. You see the vendors on the left, the specific items, and the price per unit on the right. The reason that we present this to you, in almost every case, it would be under the threshold that you wouldn't need to award it if we did a 1-year contract. However, we're contemplating a 2-year contract with possibility of extensions for 3 years. So in order to make sure that we don't inadvertently trip over a threshold, we bring it to the highest level of award, which is the City Council authorization. I would ask for your positive concurrence on this. Tom and his folks in Finance Department, as usual, did a very good job on this. These are the components that help our city look the way they look, and the men and women that work on the city and make it look so good. These are the tools that they need, or parts of them. So I would ask your positive agreement on these.
I like the multi-year concept of it. I've only got one question.
Uh-oh.
This is going to be one of those questions that I need somebody technically astute to. What is A1 gabion?
Those stones are the large gabion stones are like what you see like on erosion areas. They're nice, real big. They're pretty stones, and you can get. Actually, there's 2 different types of them, and it says the A1s are 25 to 75 pounds a piece. So they're larger stones, and actually, I put that bid back out. I get it every year, and I only use a few of those, but I've got some plans for those, like down at the wharf area, to kind of dress the old stones up that are down there, the old concrete stones. I'm going to put those over top of some of those, and I think it's going to look really nice down there.
Everything else I can make out. I just never heard of that stone.
And this is actually, we got some great prices by doing it this way. This is kind of the way we normally do it. So I think we got some really good prices, and the prices that you see on here are per ton. That's delivery included, and I know Mr. Green knows what the prices of these things go up. You can actually pay that 19, like say for the number 21 stone, the 26s. When you pay for that, normally it would probably be $24, $25 a ton. Plus they charge sometimes $3 and $4 per ton delivery. So going out like that, you really get a great price. You get a good bang for your buck. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Overall, are the prices comparable to what we've been paying?
Actually, they're a lot closer to last year's prices than I thought they'd be. Very close. There's not a whole lot of deviations from them. One thing that I added in here was playground mulch, which I haven't had that in the bid price before. And that's a little bit more expensive than I thought it would be, but it's still comparable to what we've been paying. I thought by going on the bid process we might get a little bit better price, but it's still it's a good price for the contractors that are out there. And we just used quite a bit of that on. We just did half of Kids Island, and it really makes a big difference. If none of y'all have been out there, I'd like, and public included, We've actually added a new water fountain out there, and we've done half of Kids Island, all new mulch, and, we dug it all out and put fabric underneath. It looks really good, and I'm hoping to next year do the other half if funds are available. So,
Okay. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Gene, the layman's term for gabion is riprap.
Okay. Well, I was all over riprap. See, if it had said riprap, I'd have said, okay, I got it. I know.
If you hadn't called Tom up, that's the one I knew, because I asked that question like, it's big rock.
Yeah, big old rock.
Big gabion means big rock.
I just thought of, an A1 gabion. I was like, okay. All right, and then there's a CL1 gabion. All right, anyway, moving on. Is there a motion to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into contracts with multiple contractors for street and landscape materials.
Second. A motion made and seconded that we adopt this resolution authorizing the contract. Questions or comments? Judy, please.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. The next item under new business, and this is the first reading on stormwater ordinance. I knew, there they are.
Go ahead, Ellen. As Ellen gets ready, council will know, because Ellen's been here to brief you several times, on the changes in the state regulations, almost all of which we have very little discretion on. And there's a little bit of discretion with some irony that she's going to touch on, but it really did take a tremendous amount of focus on her part, and towards the end also on Judy's part, to stay on track in this swirling mass of state changes, both in terms of legislation, regulation, and expectation. And we think through there, but we wouldn't have been there without Ellen staying on top of this, so thank you.
For your consideration tonight is the new stormwater ordinance. The City of Poquoson is mandated to establish its own stormwater program for new construction activities by July 1st of 2014. You were presented a draft of the ordinance in December's work session. Since December, the ordinance has undergone the following changes. We combined it with the existing ordinance on the books that banned non-stormwater discharges into the drainage system, so that we didn't have two ordinance sections that basically said stormwater management. We also, the ordinance was also updated to reflect changes due to General Assembly action this year. Specifically, the General Assembly bill that passed and became law lightened the load on single-family home construction. They still have to meet the technical requirements, but they don't have to register and get a permit. It also puts the responsibility for hearings by those people who feel they're being damaged by the state stormwater regulations, puts the responsibility for that on the state, and an earlier draft required local governments to hold hearings for those people who felt they were being damaged by the state stormwater regulations. City Council still retains, under this ordinance, still retains the appeals process if someone wants to appeal a staff decision on a technical issue. Finally, this ordinance provides an option for Poquoson to collect the state portion of the stormwater fee. What you may remember from the December work session is that the stormwater regulations on the state level provide local governments the option of charging their own stormwater fee or not charging their own stormwater fee. The state is still going to collect a fee for the stormwater permit program. What the reason we're asking you to consider having Poquoson collect the state stormwater fee and turn it over to the state is that by doing so, it will not delay developers any longer than you have to. Instead of having a 2-day wait to get your stormwater, or instead of having a week or 2-week wait to get a stormwater permit when you fulfilled all the other requirements, someone who wants to start construction may only have to wait 2 days to get a quick email back from the state this way. And as discussed in December, there is an option to charge a local stormwater fee. That is not what this rate schedule includes in there. The direction before was that Poquoson was not going to charge that. But I do have information on the local fees if you're interested.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
I think you had us up until you said that we would collect the money for the state, but then we would send it to them.
Correct.
I was with you until you said send it to them.
Okay.
Okay? I would be happy to collect the money from the state for something that we could use locally.
Mr. Mayor, that was the irony that I was talking about. They push the work to us, give us the option to charge our citizens even more for it, which we're, at least as a staff, not recommending we do. Then they're going to make the developer or the citizen pay a state fee for work that we now do. And we have to collect it and send it to the state, because if they go to the state, it could be a week or more before they're able to process it. Nothing about that feels right.
Yeah. So it comes back to, I've said this many, many times. The EPA has 40,000 people. The state probably has about 3,000, and we have you, Ellen. Okay, and what we're saying, what this basically tells me is that you can do the work of 70,000 people.
Well, and also...
Karen helps sometimes.
If she does.
Karen
I was
helps.
about to say, Karen will be administering this on a day-to-day basis, so...
You can do it in a couple days, but they can't do it in a week.
Okay. Well...
I mean, that's what I got out of the whole conversation.
And the only locality that I am aware of that is not going to collect the fee for the state is Chesapeake.
Did they say why? Do you understand why they're...
I
just,
think it was
just politics?
From what I heard, it was just a political decision. I'm not quite sure why.
Okay.
And
well, we're not. I think I speak for council in that we're not going to delay folks that are willing to invest and make them go through additional hoops. But I agree with you, Randy. It just doesn't feel right.
No, not at all. This really boils down to another unfunded state mandate.
Correct. Yeah.
They gave
But
us
this
more
one we
work.
get-
They gave us the option to do more work for free.
Correct. So it's not really a mandate. We can help people out, or we can make them go the state route.
We can give them more paperwork.
What's the anticipated additional workload on us collecting the money? We got any idea?
it all depends on how much more development we have. I had to prepare a staffing plan for the state and...
Ellen?
Excuse me.
Ms. Freeman's question was specifically to us collecting the money.
Right, it was.
It will be, for each application, a half hour of staff time at the front desk of the planning engineering group, and then the time that Teresa has to spend processing. We will get a bill once a month from the state based on some input that we have to put into their computer system. Let's give that another half hour of our staff time. So an hour of our staff time and then Teresa's time.
So it might be a lot.
It could be.
Depending on how much development you have.
Allegedly, it's going to be one bill and a quick turnaround, but it's been a very complicated program, and the details are not yet known on how they're going to do that yet. So,
We can opt out of that later, I'm assuming.
Right.
Out of that portion,
Yeah.
probably.
Okay. So, okay.
But we'll still have to do the work.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Go ahead.
Something doesn't, in this section where they say individual lots in approved residential, commercial, industrial subdivisions, they're not considered separate, and they don't have to submit a stormwater management plan. But what if this individual lot's not in a subdivision? Are they going to have to submit?
they're
one?
already, if they're not already in a subdivision, if they're not already in a plan of common development, they were already exempt. What happened is that we were saying it's not fair. There was a lot of feedback to the state that said, if you're in a common plan of development,
you shouldn't have to do that just because the guy down the road, it's unequal treatment for a single-family lot. So they don't have to submit no single-family home construction project has to submit a registration statement. They still need to have a plan on site, and they have to submit an agreement in lieu. They have to submit an agreement in lieu of plan if they are in a common plan of development, which is a subdivision. This is something that came down from an EPA rule that's tied back to the Clean Water Act, and for the most part, nobody knows why single-family lots that are in a common plan of development are treated differently from just an older lot down the road. They're both creating the same type of runoff. But it's one of those loopholes that, or not loopholes, it's one of those clauses that there isn't a lot of wiggle room on. And this is how they try to create a wiggle room.
They won't have to, in the last part, where it talks about a performance bond, an individual homeowner not in the subdivision isn't going to have to put up a performance bond.
No, just the developer when he's doing the general site work for a subdivision.
All right, but what if it's not in a subdivision?
He does not have to provide a performance bond.
Now, on this, and Randy, you kind of touched on it, right? There is the allowance in here to do a local stormwater tax, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, sir. If at a time in the future, what we said to you was, we think that based on what we've seen in development, that the small amount of money we could get wouldn't justify the extra accounting expense and audit expense and all that. If that changes because we get a surge of development to the point that we may need to add some more staff because of that development, then we'll be back to you and ask if that's how you'd like to fund that staff or the taxpayer. So,
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so a consideration for the future. Okay.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Is this the first reading? Would y'all like to take a vote tonight, or you want to think on it?
I don't think there's anything we can change, is
It really isn't.
I don't think we have an option, really.
Can you, anybody have any problem dispensing with a second reading? Okay, let's get it off the books then.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Precocious, Virginia by amending Chapter 34, Environment, to add Article 5, Stormwater Management, and adopt it on the first reading.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that we adopt that stormwater ordinance. Questions, final questions or comments of council? Seeing none, Judy, please.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Bernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, comments of the city manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items for this evening. First, I want to apologize. In the last couple of days, we've had some mixed signals and we failed to meet expectations with regard to trash service, recycling service. It had to do with differences between what was in the newspaper, which did not come from the city, what was on the website, which did, and what happened on the ground. And those three were not always in alignment. I apologize for that. That won't happen again. And we're doing everything we can to sort of fix it and make it right for folks when they let us know they had a problem. But I want to recognize the fact we had a problem. It was our responsibility. We'll see to it that it doesn't happen again. And second, lastly, for those watching at home, particularly, you may have seen this cup sitting here at the dais. This is the cup given to the city of Poquoson by the American Red Cross for winning each year that we've participated the Mayor's Cup blood drive. And we take donating blood, supporting the Red Cross very, very seriously here as employees, as members of council. And so we wanted to announce that on the 19th of June is the next Mayor's Cup, and there is ample opportunity for citizens that might want to also participate, either by giving blood or any of the other support functions here which we really see it as a whole community event. I think that's part of why we are undefeated, because the whole community embraces it. Any person that would like to participate, either in giving blood or just helping out as a volunteer or both, should contact Lisa Holloway, and her number during the standard workday is 868-3014. And that's all I have, sir.
And I will tell you, as a citizen out there, if you choose to do that, it'll be your one opportunity to get the mayor right where you want him laying down, giving that pint of blood, and I may say yes to anything, but and notice that the cup is about the size of a pint of blood, so it's really important to keep that in mind. And I know I will see Mr. Dave Callis there, as I always do, and this year I'm looking for big representation from the Public Works Department. Okay, all right. I'll see him there. I'll be late in the evening. But anyway, with that said, Councilman Ayer.
A couple things. The Island Tide magazine is coming out, and it's there's so many things to do here right in town all year long. So the folks that put this together and all these different functions that are available, take a look at it. You don't have to leave town to do all these things. It's phenomenal. My hat's off again to the folks yesterday, the Holloway Moore Post 273, American Legion, that put that on for us every year. Just an absolutely wonderful event. And then lastly, the folks from PAWS, I appreciate them coming and speaking tonight. Getting to be on the front line with that for those every 3-hour feedings during the night, just like a baby. Those ladies and gentlemen, Jim, that do that, do an amazing job. The hats off to those guys.
Okay. Councilman Green.
Just a couple of things, Mr. Mayor. We had the food bank drive today at the old City Hall, and had a great turnout. I'd like to apologize to everybody that came for the lateness of the truck. He was 45 minutes late, and the Kiwanis Club, who was hosting it, did a wonderful job of trying to keep everything under control, but I'm telling you, it was pure pandemonium there for about the first 45 minutes.
Did they have any barbecue left over?
They didn't bring it. No. I wish they had.
We didn't have any left.
I want to thank Bob Speechley, because he's gotten so tired of seeing us old guys try to carry those tables and tents out that he beats us there and does it for us. So, Bob, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And also, the Lions Club presented us with a $250 donation to add to the anonymous donor that we received. So our goal is to get the other two clubs, the Kiwanis and the Exchange, have both said they will do $500 a year. They'll put it in their yearly budget, so we'll keep this great deal we get for the meat going. And I tell you, the people really appreciate it. It's really great, because a lot of times the USDA meat leaves a lot to be desired. And also, just like to remind everybody of the floating of the wreath to honor our watermen this Sunday, June the 1st, at the Yacht Club Pier at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
How did the food collection go that y'all were doing?
Excuse me?
The food collection?
They didn't weigh it this year, but from just what we collected last year, I would say we probably got as much or maybe more. And I think if everybody agrees, the next time we do it, I think we'll do a lot better if I get some volunteers to go each one of the schools and pick their food up and see if the Farm Fresh will let us leave that truck for the whole week in their parking lot. And they made, fail to thank them, they made $5 bags of about 7 items that all you had to do was pay you $5, and they would even bring it out to the truck for them if they wanted them to. And so I think we'll do a lot, but we'll get a lot more visibility, because when we park at the schools, nobody knows except the parents of that one school, and sometimes they don't even know which school we're going to be at. So.
Okay. Well, I saw you out there working, I think it was Mellow this week, and appreciate the time that you put into that as well, Councilman Green. So thank you very much. I don't want that to be unsaid, be all out there. Councilman Renaud.
I just want to echo what Councilman Ayers said about the ceremony here yesterday. One really rewarding thing, I think it was by far the best attended that I have seen in all the years I've been coming to it, and it was certainly well received. And I heard several people comment about how attractive the redone area around the monument was. It certainly did make it much more impressive.
Thank you very much. Bud?
Yeah, before I make my comment, Buddy, what time did you say the wreath laying was Sunday?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I would like to echo the comments that have been made so far, and to add my thanks and appreciation to Davenport Portland Company for coming here and making that presentation, and more especially to our leadership, the city manager and all the city staff, to include our mayor, as Vice Mayor Freeman noted. It's the teamwork that has happened. We recently raised taxes that we really didn't want to, but it was a necessary thing to do. But because we have managed our monies well, and we now have the AAA bond rating, at least the taxpayers won't be paying money that goes to interest. Okay, it will reduce our interest rates, and we will save the taxpayers some money that way. Okay, and when the economy gets better, we'll turn that tax increase around.
I agree. Mr. Vice Mayor.
I agree with everything's been said, and it's been covered, so that's it.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add except for thank you for the continued, sometimes our staff does things that we don't even give them credit for, but see here, fire chief, volunteer fire chief, medic, and a volunteer fire captain did 20 hours of training to maintain their inspector certifications. That's great. Good on you, because we obviously need those certifications to function as a city. And I know that they do that in addition to their many duties that they already are assigned. And I want to give out a small shout out to Debbie Yarborough and Kids Island Car Washes. I see where they are still active and will always be active. And sometimes we come to think that that's just expected, and it is not. We appreciate what that organization did from the day they built it, Kids Island, to the day that they rebuilt it, and we appreciate city staffs and particularly Public Works in the way they maintain that. So it's great to have that together. Other than that, I have nothing to add. We do have a closed session, and that closed session is pursuant to Section 2.2, 3711A7, Code of Virginia, to discuss legal matters, and that is a contract.
So moved.
Second. Okay. Motion made and seconded. We go to closed session. Judy, please.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay. We are in closed session. Okay, we are reconvened from closed session, and I'll ask for a motion from council that we certify that closed session.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second. A motion made and seconded that we certify our closed session. Judy, please.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Judy, please.
Councilman Ayer.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilman Vernal.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Motion carried by a vote of 6-0.
Okay, and we are adjourned.
So, what are we voting on?
Absolutely.